Maybe that wasn't the best time to sell Bruno Fernandes because after 30 seconds he got his usual penalty. But in this weekly video we'll have a look back at my previous game week, how we got on, and then we'll move forward and look into the upcoming game week preview, my transfer thoughts, my captaincy shout, and how my team will line up. But without further ado, let's get straight into the video. So let's start off, as we always do, by having a look back at my Game Week 27 team. So I did make one free transfer and I did sell Bruno Fernandes. Now, the logic behind why I sold him was correct. He wasn't that involved in the game. Manchester United didn't create too many chances. He was against Manchester City, so I'm not annoyed with selling Bruno Fernandes. In his place, I did bring Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang of Arsenal. Now, I was hoping that with Arsenal playing against Burnley, Aubameyang getting his goal early on, that I could get a few gains ahead of Fernandes if he blanked against Manchester City. But I brought in Aubameyang knowing that he plays in that blank game week in Game Week 29, so that was part of the reasoning for it, and I'm still happy that I've got that extra player going into Game Week 29, even if he didn't quite match Bruno Fernandes this game week. So let's start off by having a look at how my team got on in Game Week 27. So at the start we had double Aston Villa defence. So Martinez with 7 with a 1 bonus point, no save points. It got added, then it got taken away. He had more bonus points, then it got taken away. Konza as well. He could have had a goal, could have had an assist in that game, but it was just the 6 and the 7 for them. It feels like what could have been, but of course very happy with the double clean sheet. Next up, we have probably the biggest disappointment of the game week is my double Manchester City defence with a double game week, scoring a total of 3 points combined. Just didn't get the clean sheets, Cancelo only playing 1 game, and yeah, they just don't look maybe quite as solid defensively. A few of those leaky chances that we've seen from them earlier in the season seem to be creeping back. With them not playing in blank game week 29, it may be worth jumping off one of them and just keeping Diaz, for example. Next up, we have big man Captain Gundogan. Now, I actually think Gundogan was quite fortunate to get a return in this. He was sort of popping up, playing very deep in both those games, but happened to score a rebound in that game week against Southampton. So 20 points from him, very happy with that. But yeah, feel quite fortunate that he did get that return in the end. Next up, we have Salah and Son. So Salah, another blank for him, 2 points, and Son with just an assist. Son seeming to be living in Gareth Bale's shadow at the moment, but yeah, nothing to really write home about with these two, but we'll see what they can get in the upcoming game weeks. Next up, we have Aubameyang, who came in and got 8 points. He got a goal, no clean sheet points, and 1 bonus point. So happy to have him in my team, especially looking ahead to sort of Game Week 28 and then that Game Week 29 blank in particular. Now up front, we start with 2 blanks. Now Watkins, again, he hit the bar. He feels like the striker that is what ifs. He is always so close to getting returns, to getting hauls, but never seems to get them. But he plays in that Game Week 29, so I'll keep him until then, but then I'll probably look to offload him after that. Next up is Patrick Bamford. Again, how I haven't had a return from one of these 2 strikers this game week, I do not know. He had an expected goals of about 1 point something probably, I don't know exactly, but yeah, he could have had something but didn't. On another day he will, so happy to keep Bamford, he keeps getting chances. And finally we have Harry Kane. Now Harry Kane did quite well in the double game week in Game Week 26, but this was the much bigger return that I had mentioned. I think Game Week 27 against Palace would just be as good for Kane as that double game week, and it did come out to be true. So 19 points for Kane, very happy there. It did mean that I left a few points in my bench, particularly with Areola scoring 8 compared to Martinez 7. Now, I was never going to play Areola against Liverpool, so that's not really a dilemma that I am annoyed with. Dean and Lookman both with blanks, Lookman scoring 3, so technically scoring 1 point more than some of my starting players, but again against Liverpool I was never going to start him. So this meant that my team scored 74 points this game week, moving my overall score up to 1,826 and giving me a game week rank of 2 million. Now, a game week rank of 2 million is very meh, but it gave me a tiny green arrow from 16k up to 15k, so into that top 15k now. Game week 28, let's try and hold my place there and then push on into game week 29, the blank game week, where I'll hopefully have more players than the average person. Let me know how you all got on in game week 27, what points you got and what rank you are at now. So let's now move on to my potential transfers ahead of game week 28. Now, I'm sure it is for me, as it is for a lot of you, that our transfers are now focused on Game Week 29. Many people do not have their free hit left. I do, but I'm not playing it in this game week. Now, there are just 4 matches taking place in Game Week 29. So there's Fulham against Leeds, Brighton against Newcastle, West Ham against Arsenal, and Aston Villa against Tottenham. So the average person will probably only be able to put out 6 or 7, maybe 8 players. So if you can start putting out more players than that and plan your transfers in advance to get players out for Game Week 29, you'll already be starting ahead of the curve. So when we go through my potential transfers, that's why they're focused on a lot of teams who have a fixture in that game week. So very focused on Game Week 29. So if we start with my potential transfers out, the first player we have is Lucas Digne. Now, I did keep him hoping he would have a double game week in Game Week 28. He doesn't seem to have that, but he still has a strong fixture against Burnley. But of course, with no fixture in Game Week 29, I'll probably be looking to sell Digne ahead of that fixture to get in a player who does play. The next player up is Salah. Now, I'm not so on board with the whole selling Salah thing. I expect Liverpool to bounce back at some point, but I have very little money tied up at him, so I can sell him and get him back at relatively the same price, whereas my other midfielder that I could sell in Son, I have a lot more value tied up in him, and he has a good fixture in game week 30 after the blank game week, so it makes more sense for me to sell Salah than to sell Son. And the final player we have on this list is Mitchell of Crystal Palace. Now, I've spoken in length about Mitchell. He doesn't play. He's an easy upgrade to one of the cheap, maybe Brighton defenders that we'll talk about in a minute. But yeah, Mitchell is the third player that I'll probably look to transfer out ahead of game week 29. So let's move on now to talking about my potential transfers in. The first player, as I mentioned, is that Brighton defender. So I've gone with Dunk. I could also go with Veltman, who seems to be playing right wing back now that Lamptey is injured. That strong fixture against Newcastle is probably my most favourable place for a clean sheet in game week 29, especially given the injuries to some of the attackers for Newcastle. So I do think I'll either get Dunk or Veltman into my team ahead of that blank game week. Next up is Rafinha, and it's one of those players that I don't quite know how I haven't owned him so far this season. He looks so good, so creative, and is always so close to returning if he doesn't so far for Leeds this season. So I'm definitely looking to get him in. Now, the fixture against Fulham is potentially tricky. Fulham have looked really good recently, but Rafinha will have such high ownership that it is a bit of a shield pick. Just get him in, make sure that he doesn't go crazy and ruin my rank, even though I will have more players than the average. So Rafinha, the next one. And finally, we have Dallas of Leeds again. So in the defence for Dallas, now we know that he's sort of playing that central midfield role. He pops up with clean sheets occasionally, but it's more that goal threat that he adds on top. So hopefully for some attacking returns or a clean sheet in game week 29 against Fulham. But those are the 3 players I'm looking to bring in either ahead of game week 28 or ahead of game week 29. So let's just have a quick summary of those transfers. So the potential transfers out are Digne, Salah and Mitchell, 3 players who don't play in game week 29 and that I don't have a lot of money tied up in. So if I want to get them back, I'll buy them at a similar price to what I sold them. And the players that I'm potentially bringing in are ones that I think can do well in that game week 29 and potentially in game week 30 afterwards. So Dunk, Rafinha and Dallas. So 2 Leeds and 1 Brighton player potentially coming into my team ahead of game week 29. So with those potential transfers in mind, let's have a quick look at how my team will line up for game week 28. First of all, let's look at my predicted transfers. So I actually currently think that I do not want to make a transfer going into game week 29. Now, Leeds are 2 of the assets that I'm looking to bring in, and they have a fixture at home to Chelsea, and I already have Patrick Bamford in my team, so I don't really want to double up on their attack or add Dallas into my defence. The other player that I was looking to bring in is Dunk. Now, he does have Southampton away, but my defenders this week do have good fixtures, so again, he'd probably likely sit on my bench, so there's no reason that I can't wait a week, get a little bit more information in case there's an injury to one of the players I want to bring in and assess with 2 free transfers going into game week 29. So I plan on making no free transfers. That does mean that my bench will look as it is on screen, but my starting lineup will have, of course, have Martinez in goal. Now, he plays on Friday evening. I don't particularly like having players on Friday evening, but there's no way that I'm not having Martinez in my team away at Newcastle. Into the defence, the first one we have is Lucas Digne. Now, he could have had a potential double game week this game week, but he doesn't. But still a Burnley at home fixture for Everton. They don't look like scoring quite as many goals, so defensive solidity is definitely something that they need, and hopefully a clean sheet from him. Next up, we have triple Manchester City. So all 3 of my Manchester City players again will start for me this game week, with Fulham away for Diaz, Cancelo and Gundogan, Hopefully they all get a start, although I'm slightly concerned, particularly with Gundogan, with the Champions League following game week 28. But let's hope that they all get the start and can get some returns against Fulham, and hopefully a clean sheet for once. Next up, we have Salah. Now, Salah, a lot of people are thinking about selling him. I plan on keeping Salah for that Wolves away fixture. He did score in the Champions League, so let's hope that he can bring a little bit of that confidence, a little bit of that form that he's shown there into that match against Wolves. In the attack, we have Watkins and Bamford. So Watkins with a good fixture again against Newcastle. He's been so close so many times. Let's hope that this is finally the game week that he gets his return. And then we have Bamford. Now, I did consider benching Bamford for Konsa, and this is a decision that I may change closer to the deadline. Konsa with Newcastle away, it's just having that double Aston Villa defence in that Friday night fixture. If it doesn't go well, it's going to leave such a sour taste in my mouth. And Bamford scored last time he played against Chelsea, so I have gone with Bamford starting for me this game week. Next up are my 3 players playing in that North London derby. So I have Son, Kane and Aubameyang all playing in that Arsenal versus Tottenham game. So let's hope for a goal fest in that game week. So some returns for hopefully at least 2 of these 3. But yeah, let's hope for some goals in that match. Moving on now to my captaincy and vice captaincy. So at the moment, my vice captain is Son. Now, it does feel like it's been the Kane and Bale show recently, and this may depend on whether Son starts in the Europa League tonight. But he loves a goal in a big game, whether it's against Manchester City, whether it's against Tottenham, Arsenal. He does like to perform in these big games because of the space that there's given in behind for Son to target. So at the moment, Son is my vice captain going into game week 28. However, my captain, a bit differential, a bit rogue, and maybe a bit punty for you all, is Salah away at Wolves. Now, he did get that goal in the Europa League. He has been getting chances, he just hasn't been finishing them, and I think Jota coming back into the team is only going to make Salah a better option. So I'm going a bit differential. I imagine most people will be on Bruno Fernandes, who I do not own. So at the moment, Salah is my captain for game week 28, and that is how I plan on lining up for the upcoming game week. So that is how my team is planning on lining up in game week 28, with making no free transfers. If you all have some questions about your teams, about some transfers or your chip strategy ahead of game week 28 or game week 29, drop them in the comments down below and I will make sure to answer them ahead of the deadlines. But that's all we've got time for in this video. Good luck in game week 28, everyone. If you have enjoyed the video, please make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. But that's all we've got time for. Good luck in game week 28, and I will see you all next time.